Hello students, this is Mrs. Sonal Patil. We were studying the chapter Human Reproduction. In the last class, we studied up till fertilization and implantation. Today, we will study about the next part of the chapter, which includes pregnancy and embryonic development. After implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast called chorionic villi. So, after the implantation, finger-like projections are appearing on the trophoblast. Those are called as chorionic villi. These chorionic villi are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood. The chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigitated with each other and jointly form a structural and functional unit between developing embryo and maternal body called placenta. So placenta is nothing but it is the structural and functional unit between the developing embryo and the maternal body, which is formed by the chorionic villi and uterine tissue. Both of them become interdigitated with each other to form placenta. Very important question in the exam will be asked about the placenta, so please concentrate on this. The placenta facilitate the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo and also removal of carbon dioxide and excretory or waste materials produced by the embryo. So functions of placenta will be asked many a times. This question is being asked in the exam. Functions of placenta. So placenta, firstly it will facilitate the supply of oxygen, nutrients to the embryo, and also it is responsible for the removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste produced by the embryo. Secondly, the placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord. So placenta is connected to the embryo by umbilical cord, which helps in the transport of substances to and from the embryo. So from the embryo, the exchange of materials is occurring through the umbilical cord. So transport is occurring, transport of the substances to and from the embryo is occurring through this. Placenta also acts as an endocrine tissue and produces several hormones like very important human chorionic gonadotropin HCG, human placental lactogen HPL, estrogens, progesterone, etc. So this question also may be asked in the exam. Hormones secreted by placenta. So placenta produces hormones like human chorionic gonadotropin, human placental lactogen, estrogens, progesterones, etc. In later phase of pregnancy, a hormone called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. HCG, HPL and relaxin are produced in women only during pregnancy. In addition, during pregnancy, the levels of other hormones like estrogens, progesterones, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, etc. are increased several folds in the maternal blood. So levels of the hormones like estrogens, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, etc. these are increased several folds in the maternal blood. Increased production of these hormones is essential for supporting the fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother and the maintenance of pregnancy. Immediately after implantation, the inner cell mass differentiates into an outer layer called ectoderm and an inner layer called endoderm. A mesoderm soon appears between the ectoderm and endoderm. So soon after the implantation, the inner cell mass which has been formed, it will get differentiated into outer layer ectoderm, inner layer endoderm, and one more layer appears between the outer and the inner layer, that is mesoderm is appearing between the outer and the inner layer. These three layers give rise to all tissues in adults. It needs to be mentioned here that the inner cell mass contains certain cells called stem cells. So stem cells are present in the inner cell mass which have the potency to give rise to all the tissues and organs. So stem cells are having the potential, or they have the ability to give rise to all the tissues and organs. So those were the stem cells. The human pregnancy lasts for 9 months. In human beings, after 1 month of pregnancy, the embryo's heart is formed. The first sign of growing fetus may be noticed by listening to the heart sound carefully through the stethoscope. By the end of the 2nd month of pregnancy, the fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of 12 weeks, most of the major organ systems are formed. For example, the limbs and the external genital organs are well developed. The first movement of the fetus and appearance of hair on the head are usually observed during the 5th month. By the end of the about 24 weeks, the body is covered with fine hair, eyelids separate, and eyelashes are formed. By the end of 9 months of pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed and is ready for delivery. So this is about the development of the fetus, how it has been occurring, they have shown. So during the 1 month of pregnancy, embryo's heart is formed. First sign of that growing fetus can be noticed by listening to the heart sound by the stethoscope. By the end of the 2nd month, the fetus develops limbs and digits. Then by the end of 12 weeks, most of the major organs are formed. First movement of the fetus and the appearance of hair on the head are usually observed during the 5th month. And by the end of 24 week, the body is covered with fine hair, eyelids separate, eyelashes are formed. By the end of the 9th month of the pregnancy, the fetus is fully developed and is ready for delivery. So this is about the development of the fetus. So in this part we studied about the placenta, functions of placenta. Again I am reminding you to remember the functions of placenta. Hormones secreted by the placenta is very, very important. That question also may be asked for 2 marks. So please concentrate on that. And then this was the development of the fetus. Lastly, parturition and lactation. The average duration of human pregnancy is about 9 months, which is called gestation period. A 1 mark question, very important. Gestation period is the average duration of human pregnancy, which will last for about 9 months. That is called as gestation period. Vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of pregnancy causes expulsion or delivery of the fetus. This process of delivery of the fetus is called parturition. Parturition is induced by complex neuroendocrine mechanism. So neuroendocrine mechanism is occurring. The signals of parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild contractions called fetal ejection reflex. Again a very, very important question. So signals which are occurring, the signals for the parturition or the delivery of the child is occurring because this is originating from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which will induce, and these two will induce a mild uterine contractions called as fetal ejection reflex. This triggers release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. So since fetal ejection reflex is occurring, this is triggering the release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Now oxytocin acts on the uterine muscles and causes stronger uterine contractions, which in turn stimulates further secretion of oxytocin. The stimulatory reflex between the uterine contraction and oxytocin secretion continues, resulting in stronger and stronger contractions. This leads to expulsion of the baby out of the uterus through the birth canal, which is called as parturition. So stronger uterine contractions are occurring and oxytocin keeps on being secreted, and which will result into the delivery of the fetus, or which results into parturition. Soon after the infant is delivered, the placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. The mammary glands of the female undergo differentiation during pregnancy and starts producing milk towards the end of the pregnancy by the process called lactation. Very important question for 1 mark. So the process of producing milk towards the end of the pregnancy is called as lactation. This helps the mother in feeding the newborn. The milk produced during the initial few days of lactation is called colostrum. Again, very important question. Colostrum is the milk produced during the initial few days of the lactation, which contains several antibodies absolutely essential to develop resistance for newborn babies. Breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors for bringing up a healthy baby. So this was about the parturition and lactation. So today we have studied about the pregnancy and how the embryonic development is occurring. We studied about the placenta, functions of the placenta, hormones secreted by the placenta. Further, we studied about the embryonic development, how it is occurring, and lastly we ended up with parturition, and lastly we have studied about the lactation. Very important again questions. I have told you many questions from this chapter are being asked for 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks also. So please concentrate on which all I have told you to remember. So this completes the chapter human reproduction. In the next class we will begin with the next chapter. Thank you.